Let me introduce you to somebody called Raymond Briggs. You may remember the name. 1986, a time when there was an awful lot of politics going on, just like there is now. Raymond Briggs produced the classic, When the Wind Blows. I really hope we might even see it on television. I hope it's possible that possibly even the BBC might show this beautiful animated cartoon. It's beautiful because it's sad. It's beautiful because it deals with something that clearly we're all headed towards even now. Well, you can see Mr. and Mrs. Bloggs there, and as Mrs. Bloggs has got her cup of tea, well, not a cup of tea, a teapot, and she's also probably got a couple of biscuits there as well, and there's Mr. Bloggs, lovely man, with his hand on her shoulder, right in front of that big atomic mushroom. Well, I expect the Bloggses will have had a cup of tea, and I'm drinking tea now. Thank you, Raymond Briggs, and to these wonderful characters, Mr. and Mrs. Bloggs. That's my draft. Good old British Rosie Lee. Now, one thing about the Bloggs family is they're just like any other family. They kind of remind me of myself a little bit. I think Raymond drew them to be considerably older than the mere 60 years that I have reached. I was 23 when the book was released. But they're older than me, and they have children. Probably a little bit like maybe you, if you are family people. Family people of increasing years, shall we say. Perhaps you too have your own children. Yep. And well, of course, as all good parents, the Bloggses are very concerned that their young son will follow the advice in the governmental leaflet for what to do in the event of the inevitable nuclear war. You see, Mr. and Mrs. Bloggs, as we find out in the story, lived through World War II. And bless them, they believe that they will survive World War III as well. In fact, on the bottom right image there, in the bottom right hand corner, you can see the Bloggses doing what we always do, making a meal and having a cup of tea. They are taking all of their advice from the governmental leaflet, as I said. The governmental leaflet is called Protect and Survive. And one of the funniest things Mrs. Bloggs says to Mr. Bloggs, it's funny because it's really sad. It's funny because it's tragic. It's funny because those two cartoon characters speak of me and my wife and our kids, yeah? But Mr. Bloggs tells her that in the governmental leaflet it is recommended, yeah, that they take a sand tray into their inner refuge with them. Their inner refuge built from, bits of household items like doors taken off their hinges and leaned against walls, packed on the outer side with the suitcases filled with soil from the garden where the run of beans grow. Yeah, but inside that, after the balloon has gone up, shall we say in language that they really would have liked, after the balloon has gone up, they've got to get in there. And of course, they've got to find a way to wash their dishes, haven't they? Because water's going to be in really short supply and it's going to be possibly irradiated. So you don't want to waste it on washing dishes after you've had your cup of Rosie Lee. Just another sip from my cup of tea. So, in their wisdom, Protect and Survive, which you can still find, the governmental leaflet encourages them to take in a sand tray. Now, poor Mrs. Bloggs doesn't quite get that this is for washing the dishes. She says, I'm not doing my business in something like that. I'll feel like a cat. so, so, so sad. What is hopeful in the story, though, is this. What is hopeful in the characters is this. After a montage where we see them looking back on their lives together, we see them when they first met. We see her and him cycling in the countryside. They were young. We see them when their children were born. We see them as they got married, literally. And that's a wonderful flashback sequence. And we see them both as young people too. And what is hopeful in the story is that their love survives. You can't kill love. Nuclear weapons, viruses, all of that lot can't kill it. They can kill us. They very likely will kill us. But you can't kill the love that they have for each other, their boys, their family, their world. You can't kill that. I'd like you, if you would, please, just to look that book up. I think it says something about Channel 4 on there as well. And maybe even watch it on Channel 4. In the end, they crawl like potatoes into paper sacks that they believe will prevent them from dying of radiation sickness. By then, they're showing all the classic symptoms of radiation sickness. They know they're going to die. But Mr. Bloggs is the eternal optimist. And even when he has bloody diarrhea, he says to Mrs. Bloggs, "But I'm a man, and even I have that. Even men get that sometimes, Mrs. Bloggs. Don't worry about the fact of that. It's probably just something that we ate." So sad. So really, really sad. Raymond Briggs, I don't even know if you're still alive, but any of your descendants, thank you for writing that book. Thank you for the Bloggses. Because it's not going to go all black like it did just then. It's not going to go all black. It's not. Not for me. Not for any that love. I'll stop now.